Guys, welcome back to the Coach Approach podcast with myself, your host, Domenico Dorico. I thought I'd go with the Italian name of my Italian name for that one. Welcome. So today's episode is all going to be about female fluctuation specific. Of course, it's going to be specific because why? Probably we're going to be talking about the menstrual cycle. A slightly different, I say slightly, quite a bit different to males. You know, males can be a lot more simpler when it comes to fat loss. And the fluctuations that they have, but females very, very different. And when I started becoming, well, when I officially became a coach and I delved into this years and years ago, it was fascinating to me. Now I have female clients, about 50%, I would say. My clientele's females. So going through this was extremely important on my side. So I was able to give the best explanations to clients as well. Like what us coaches are problem solvers and we are educators as well. So if we can explain what's actually going on and understand it ourselves, and when I say ourselves, myself, you're going to build up more trust with clients as well. And if you're listening to this or even watching this on YouTube and you are a client, this is very, very important. If I can give you the answers you're looking for, you're going to trust me more. And then it also puts, I would say, maybe your nerves or your thoughts at ease because we are understanding what's going on with these fluctuations. Now, a lot of the time back in the day, or I would say still a lot of people will gain a little bit of weight and they will lose their shit. Honestly, lose their shit. I actually had it this morning. I won't say a name, but a female going, "Oh my God, I've gained 200 grams, literally 200 grams, zero point 0.2 kilos." And she was like, "I'm bulking. That's it. My body's bulking." No, calm down. There's quite a few things that are going on, and we delved into it. She was like, "Okay, well, that's probably the reason. This is the reason." And these are the things that I'm going to go into as well. A rubbish shit coach will be going into. We'll say, "Oh my God, you are gaining weight. We need to now drop more calories or increase cardio," and that's a very reactive answer and a reactive emotion. We always want to be proactive and understand what's actually going on. Now, female fluctuations will be different to males, of course. Why? Menstrual cycle. And every female, now there is a lot of science based behind here, but from my experience with females, a lot of it's very individualized. Now, generally, we have this, we learn about this, black, not a blank statement, but generally, this is where you're going to be heaviest, this is where you're going to be your lightest, this is where you're going to be your strongest, this is where you're going to be your weakest, all this type of stuff based on your menstrual cycle. Now, applying that to actually every female individual that I've had is always been slightly different because some females that I've coached are really, really strong when it comes to their period. Well, that goes against what technically science says. Some females will actually go with that. They're like, yeah, I'm actually my weakest here. So we always have to take it with a little bit of pinch and salt, but this is going to be the foundations of what we're looking for. And then we can kind of go, okay, this is how you react. Because every female has a very different menstrual cycle. It's never normally, and don't get me wrong, I have actually have quite a few females that do have that regular 28-day cycle. Some females are late, some females are early. Some females respond differently. Some people are heaviest at this time when they're supposed to be their lowest. And this is why we track data. With all of my females, I will track their day of cycle. I will get them to put it into their daily tracker so I can start comparing their months. Because if you're just comparing day to day or even week to week, it is not going to be maybe the most accurate representation of their fat loss or their gaining phase. So I'm going to start off quickly before I even go to any fluctuations. Is I track females' average weight per week, and I will compare week to week. But what I also do is compare month to month. So what I mean by that is, the end of their last day of bleed. Let's say it's day 8, and the day after day 8. I will compare day 8 of February to day 8 of January and have a look where their scale weight is because that is going to be more of a representation than a week to week. Week to week still good, but then if we compare month to month, it's going to give us even more accurate data. And that's why I coach clients for long periods of time. It's not just, oh, we're just going to find out what we do in the first 4 weeks. It's not how coaching works. If you really want to understand your body and really want to get the most out of coaching and education and understanding what you need to do, it's got to be a long-term kind of relationship. So I'll start by saying that's what I do with females. Fran comes to mind, who's lost an incredible amount, like 2, 3 kilos. We had Kelly, who lost 2.5 kilos, cycle to cycle. Wasn't moving too much that day to day, but like overall it was. So please, if you are a female listening to this, track your cycles and compare it. And that's what I do with my females, and it's very easy to do it within my coaching app. Then it comes to fluctuations. Oh, before I actually go into that, the truest scale weight, girls, if you're listening, is going to be 2 to 3 days or 2 to 4 days after your last day of bleed. Let's say your last day of bleed was day 7. Day 9 or 10 is going to be the most true scale weight that you will have. If everything else is, you're not going out on a massive binge and you're drinking loads of alcohol and having a kebab at the end of the night. If you stick to the plan, day 9, 10 is going to be your most accurate reading. So that will be a really good telling sign of where you really, really are. Um, Now we'll go into the fluctuations. It's really important to understand that there will naturally always be fluctuations throughout the week. It's impossible. Now, why are these fluctuations happening? Well, number one, it will be depending on your cycle. And I draw a graph here. I say a graph, it's like a kind of table that I've written down and I always refer to with clients and I show them it as well. And I always have the cycle phase, what your dominant hormone is, your water retention, and weight. So if we're looking at the earlier follicle, days 1 to 7. Generally, this is where females will be their lowest scale weight or body fat percentage where it is, and we already know 2 to 3 days, 3 to 4 days is going to be the most accurate scale weight recording. Then days 7 to 14, your your weight will probably increase a little bit more. That will be the late follicle. Then we go into day 14 to 21, the early luteal, which then we're now going to actually drop a little bit. We actually decrease some of the stuff because our water retention slightly or acutely decreases. And that is just before our late luteal phase, which is, day 21 to 28, if you're having that normal cycle, where we're then going to be our heaviest. So it drops, it increases, it drops a little bit, and then it increases dramatically. So that's why there will be, based on the cycle, your fluctuations based on water retention as well. So 1 to 7, low water retention. Day 17 to 14, going to be the increase, small increase. Day 14 to 21, then it slightly decreases, and then in the day 21 to 28, it increases quite dramatically because you're ready to, obviously bleed. So based on that, that's going to be some fluctuations as well, and that's why you've got to do month to month because if you're going to have a high phase, the fourth week compared to your low week, it's always going to be different. So track that. And not every week, every month is going to be perfect. You have socials, you have events, you have things that you are going to be probably calorie banking for. And this is based on people that are actually going to be training hard or training harder, or train it within a plan. Now, if you're someone that's just trying to drop body fat and you're training a little bit here, doing some cardio there, doing loads of water, drinking loads of water, going out loads of the time throughout the weeks, doing all this type of stuff, then yeah, you're going to be all over the place. This is only for people that really want to kind of understand everything. So you need to have a plan. You need to kind of stick to it and get a good understanding of what is going on. So if you're someone that's listening going, oh, well, mine's all over the place, well, just take a step back and kind of go, am I actually sticking to a plan? Am I actually doing a certain amount of cardio? Am I actually doing a certain amount of training? Am I actually drinking a decent amount of water? Am I eating well? Am I just going out randomly all the time and not even calorie banking and consuming 4,000 calories one day, 1,000 calories another day? So this is not really I'm not really talking about you people in that camp. I'm talking about the people that are already kind of trying to stick into a plan. And if you are in that camp where you've got everything all over the place, I do suggest you trying to get into some form of a plan and a structure to then understand how your body works as well. So fluctuations that can happen throughout that week, and I'll speak to one of my clients before. Now, sleep has a massive impact on if you are dropping more body fat or not. If you are having crap sleep, you will retain more water and you will retain more fluids, and you'll have maybe a maintenance or an increase. That could happen. I've had that recently with a client, female, who I spoke to just before this podcast, who I mentioned earlier, who was having a panic attack and wanting, oh, I'm gaining bulking phase. I've gained zero point 0.2 kilos. I looked at her daily tracker. I was like, your sleep's actually really bad on the Wednesday. She was like, oh, yeah. I woke up at like 3 a.m. and didn't go back to sleep. And I was up until 11, I think she said, or half 10. I had my last meal at 10 o'clock. Ah, okay, cool. Here we go. So you're having a meal later on in the day, and that means less time for digestion and you're having less sleep. Of course, your body's kind of go, oh, a bit stressed. It's going to retain a little bit of water. So that's what you've got to kind of put towards or put a correlation to higher or lower Sorry, someone there was a parcel that someone else was telling me to open the door, but I couldn't do that. But yeah, so where was I? Fluctuations. Sorry, there was a parcel that's been trying to deliver. He looked at me through the window. I was like, no. um, I'm on a podcast. So yeah, sleep, times of food, times that you eat is very important as well. So if you're eating at 10 o'clock, like my client was, and then trying to weigh yourself at 6 o'clock at the same time, yes, you're going to have less time to digest food compared to if you were going to have your last meal at 7. So that is a fluctuation in itself. Less time for digestion makes a big impact. Less sleep, bit more stressed, retain some more fluids. Wait till you relax. Wait till your body's in a less a more, should we say, less. Your cortisol levels are a little bit higher, so you want to have more of a drop in that. You want to reduce your cortisol levels. Types of food make a big difference. You know, if you're having a low carb diet, that means it's going to be the way I like to explain this, guys, is like a sponge. You know, if you haven't got the carb, which is the sponge in your stomach, more fluids makes the sponge heavier. There you where you're going to be heavier. Now, if you cut out loads and loads of carbs, then and you're having a bit of a high fat diet, similar to like a keto diet, you are going to drop the scale weight quite dramatically because the carbs are quite heavy. The amount of water you have during the day is very important as well. So I do this test and I tell clients to do it when they have like a weight increase or fluid. They think it's body fat. Now I've got if you're watching on YouTube, I've got a pint of water in front of me. I've done this test myself and I've got all clients to do so. Down, look, weigh yourself first. Let's say you're 70 kilos. Down 500 ml of water, you will be 70.5 straight after if you weigh yourself. The power of water is immense when it comes to our body and fluctuations and scale weight recordings. So let's say one day you only consume 1 liter of water, but the next day you're consuming 3 or 4. Well, what do you think? Water weighs, doesn't it? Exactly. So if you're having, you need like a regular kind of water intake, get between the 2 to 3 liters, you'll be sound. If you're doing strenuous exercise, makes a big difference as well. So if you are one day of cardio doing like 2 hours and then the next day you're not doing anything and the next day nothing and then the next day and then 20 minutes, like if your cardio is all over the place, you could be sweating a lot. Therefore, what happens with sweat? Sweat is weight as well. So you are literally losing weight from water. And that's what can happen with females as well. How hard you train plays a big factor, and that can play a factor with the cycle as well. So some females will be really feel their strongest in week 3. Then they're going to train the hardest. That may increase inflammation from soreness in the muscles. Therefore, they're going to come in a bit heavier, possibly. You know, um, that also plays a big factor is how you're actually training. If you do a HIIT workout, which I know loads of females do, and you're absolutely destroying your body, what happens? Your body then is inflamed and sore. What does that equal? Fluid retention, because your body's inflamed. That way you might increase on the scale weight the next day. So there's so many factors to fluctuations, especially with females as well, that have an impact to your scale weight, fat loss, and even muscle gain. And this is why it's important to have a coach to explain what's going on, what's happening, and to give you that peace of mind that, you know what, actually, I'm actually doing all right. And you can swear by it as well. Like this morning, my client, I've done exactly the same calories, exactly the same foods. Like, I don't understand. Well, okay, cool. I believe her with that because she's actually very good. Well, actually, now we know that your sleep was terrible. We know you gave it a 1 out of 5. One is terrible, 5 is great, and you ate really late. Brilliant. We know that's the factor that's increased that zero point 0.2 kilos. Carry on. You're absolutely fine. Keep going. So it's a peace of mind to understand how the body reacts to fluids, to times of eating, to salt is a big one as well. A lot of females I struggle to get their salt intake. What does salt do? Water follows salt. So if you're having a high increase of salt, then the water will follow it. It may retain a little bit more, and vice versa. You may actually not follow it a lot more. So maybe you've increased your salt intake. But a lot of the time, girls, track your cycle. That is one of the biggest things I always say. Track your cycle, compare month to month and your average week to week. That's what my daily tracker does. And you will start seeing the trends. You will get that understanding. The weekly fluctuations is normal. You are always going to have fluctuations. It's impossible, really. I've only had a handful of people that actually have dropped body weight consistently without even one fluctuation. You are going to have highs and lows all the time. But over time, over a longer period of time, it's going to make a bigger difference. Now, females are generally smaller than males, obviously. They have less body fat generally to lose. Therefore, you've got to play the long game longer. Males that have like 110 kilos and have got like fucking 3, 4 stone to lose, they will lose that quite quickly. Females, smaller body, less body fat. You've got to do that over time. Okay. Dropping body fat is hard. It is hard. I'm not even going into like tracking and inaccurate tracking and inaccurate serving sizes because that's everyone knows that. I actually, this is a great example with another client who wasn't losing any weight for 6 weeks. 6 weeks she wasn't losing any weight, or actually a bit longer than that. And we are delving into it, and she was, and I won't say her name because we've actually really figured it out. And I said yesterday was a very progressive day. She mentioned that she's only consuming 1,400 calories and she's 82 kilos, which is quite, she's got quite high body fat. And the goal is obviously to drop body fat. And we're like, no, definitely this, definitely this, definitely this. And I kept delving into it. And I said, don't worry, there's something going on here. We're going to figure it out because over the years of my experience, I know something's not adding up. And yesterday, after a check-in, she mentioned, okay, yeah, I haven't been weighing my food. I've only weighed a little bit. So I'm just guessing. Okay. I'm actually having crisps at work. To be fair, I'm actually probably eating a lot of that. I'm having my cafe latte that I'm not tracking from Starbucks. Okay. So this is now where we got more calories in, where now she's not losing body fat because of the habits outside, but we've now highlighted it and gone, brilliant. Now we know what we're doing. Now we know where the calories have come from. Now we know we're not on 1,400. We're probably on 2,200. So although that wasn't a fluctuation, I wanted to kind of delve into that a little bit, because there's always something. It's impossible not to lose body fat on low calories. Impossible. Okay, people will always lose it. If you're not, something is happening. There's a habit. There's things you're not realizing. It's inaccurate tracking, stuff like that. Fluctuations, again, normal, even on a diet that's absolutely perfect. Even if you're perfect with cardio, even if you're perfect with training, fluctuations will happen down to stress as well. Females are normally always more stressed. I know this from Naomi. I know this from dealing with a lot of female clients. Stress is like the part of their life. And the biggest job for me is to try and reduce that stress. As soon as we reduce the stress, fluctuations that will came high always drop back down. So sleep, reduce cortisol levels and stress. Think of fluctuations of times of eating. Think of type of carbs that you have. Maybe you have no carbs at dinner one night and then you have loads of carbs one other night. The carbs are going to sit there overnight. Therefore, how that might be a fluctuation as well. So think of that as well. And that's quite specific to, that's not very specific to females, but it can be specific to males and females. But females, cycle, very, very important. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. I haven't gone in, I could talk about this all day. I really could, but I wanted to give you kind of a little bit of an overview on what you should be doing and what you should be tracking, and why some fluctuations do happen. It's normal. Just keep doing it, keep tracking it, keep being consistent. That's the biggest thing. And take waist measurements, by the way. Fluctuations can happen. I take a lot of waist and hip measurements for females, and fluctuations can happen. For example, you might be increasing one week, but the scale weight, but the measurements on your hips are coming down. So does that mean you're gaining body fat? No, it's just food that needs to pass through. Weekends where you've gone out for a meal and that food needs to take a few days to pass through, called the weekend weight. So measurements are actually really important, especially for females. I think more so for that's very specific to females, because scale weight cannot drop. And I've had this with many clients recently. Scale weight doesn't move, but their waist and hip is coming down like half a centimeter, another half centimeter, another centimeter. So therefore, we've got to take not just the scale weight fluctuations. We then put that to one side and go, oh wow, measurements come down. Perfect, we're on track. Don't need to move. Let's be proactive, not reactive. Just because the scale weight is fluctuating and not going down, what are other measures of that we can track to see if we can if we are actually making moves in fat loss or whatever it may be. So there are times I haven't changed anything on the client's plan, and they're dropping on the measurements, but they're staying the same as the scale weight. Still fine. We're dropping body fat. But yeah, so guys, hope you enjoyed that. Any questions, let me know. Really enjoyed that one. Like I said, I can speak for days and days for this, but I wanted to try and cram in as much as possible. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next episode.